Did you know that there was a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden where 20,000 New Yorkers gathered to celebrate the rise of Nazism? The marquee outside the theater says pro-America rally. That's how it was sold. And when you get inside, there are American flags everywhere. They say the Pledge of Allegiance and sing the Star-Spangled Banner. And there's a 30-foot portrait of George Washington, but he has swastikas on either side. It seemed like something that, if it were true, everybody would know about. It would be a common part of American history. But I was wrong, and a number of archives had pieces of footage from the night, but nobody had pulled it all together. And when I sat down and started looking through, I was just stunned. I was shocked and appalled and confused. The juxtaposition of Nazi imagery and ideology with the icons of American patriotism are really disorienting. It's super dramatic. It was filmed in a way that was intended probably to be used for propaganda purposes. So it has a very dramatic feel, but it's very dark and it's weirdly familiar. The anti-Semitism and fascism were embraced by an unsettlingly large number of people. And you know that if 20,000 people show up for a rally, that there's many times that who support the ideology. The rally was organized by the German-American Bund, which was kind of the American Nazi party at that point. And it was very controversial. There was a big debate over whether they should be allowed to have this rally there. And the beginning of the film, the initial shots are of protesters outside who are shaking fists and yelling at what's going on in there. So it was definitely not the majority opinion of Americans at the time, but it was a legitimate opinion. The speaker's speech begins with an attack on the press, and that's a classic thing for demagogues to do. He tells the crowd that they need to take America back from the Jews who are destroying it, and that we need to institute a Gentile-controlled United States. To me, the footage was kind of a metaphor for general demagoguery. And then, when the woman was murdered in Charlottesville, it became clear that this wasn't just a metaphor even anymore. Now we're actually talking about actual Nazis in the current time. Today it's the Jews, but also Muslims and immigrants. There's an ideology of hate that even transcends Nazism. The Nazi Party is clearly a very fringe group in the United States, but the ideology of hate and the climate of anti-immigrant, anti-Semitic, anti-black feelings is very present and much bigger than any fringe Nazi party. Partway through the rally, a man runs out on stage, and we know now that his name was Isidor Greenbaum. He was a Jewish plumber's assistant from Brooklyn, and he was so appalled by what he heard being said on the stage that he just couldn't control himself, and he ran out. A group of thugs basically surround him. They beat him up, take him off stage, rip his pants off as they're throwing him off stage. The most shocking and upsetting part of it is the reaction of the crowd. You don't see people who are upset or are concerned about a person who's just been beaten up in front of them. Instead, they're laughing and they're cheering and they're slapping high fives as if they're at a World Wrestling Federation match. And of course, it's something that we see today when you see these Trump rallies where people are punching cameramen or beating up protesters, and the crowd laughs, and the president sort of gives a little smirk or a cynical head shake, or worse, cheers it on. It brings out the worst in Americans. And, if we have to be honest, people have dark sides inside of us, and those can be stirred up by leaders who are sarcastic and funny and charismatic and mean. It's a warning about the demons that live within us that can be stirred up by demagogues like that.